the people who are getting all of these interviews, they're not necessarily more talented than you. They're just more easily found. She was showing that she has a growth mindset, and a lot of people don't realize that is the biggest currency of this current job market. It's not years of experience. It's not wisdom. It's not tenure. It's ability to evolve and constantly learn, because 25 years of marketing experience doesn't actually mean anything if you've lived the same year of your career 25 times.
That's Madeline Mann. She's a career coach who uses her experience in HR and recruiting to help professionals land seemingly unattainable roles. She's also the founder of Self-Made Millennial, a fabulous YouTube channel, and author of the new book, Reverse the Search: How to Turn Job Searching into Job Shopping. So you'll learn 1, the resume mistake high achievers make; 2, the simple tweak that dramatically nets you more inbound opportunities; and 3, the interview hack that makes you sound like an expert. And if you want a quick summary write-up of these actionable takeaways, I recommend you sign up for the free Gold Nugget email newsletter, which you can find at awesomeatyourjob.com. I'm Pete Mockaitis. This is How to Be Awesome at Your Job. And now, here's Madeline. Madeline, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm excited to chat. You've got so much good stuff on YouTube and elsewhere, talking career searching, job hunting, interview answering. So we're going to talk a bit about some of the goods in your book, Reverse the Search: How to Turn Job Seeking into Job Shopping. Can you share with us, as you've spent all this time working in this field, what's one of the most surprising and fascinating discoveries you've made, or the advice you share that folks are genuinely shocked to hear and they thought it was the other way around?
Well, when I worked in human resources, I was the one who ran every hiring process. And something stood out to me is that it wasn't the candidates who necessarily had the perfect background or the Ivy League education that made the hiring managers trip over themselves to get them a position. There were certain candidates who were able to use certain approaches that allowed them to make the company compete for them. So they would say things like, oh, we need to hurry up the hiring process so we can get this person. And even I worked at companies where we didn't have these giant Google budgets, right? We had tight budgets, and we would go over budget to get certain candidates, even though they might not be, like I said, the perfect on paper candidate. And so that is the thing that really sparked the idea for this book, is that people don't realize that on the other side of the table, these companies, when they find a candidate that they really like, they will compete for that person. And if you can find the ways to start enticing these companies, even if you're a career changer or an unconventional candidate, that they will go above and beyond for you.
You know, this is funny, and this was reminding me of the most random of things. I'm thinking about the book Neil Strauss, The Game, talking about pickup artists. And they try to adopt this mindset like, no, I am the prize. And, I am a high value, whatever. And they use a number of tactics which aren't so reputable. And I don't imagine you want to nag your employer, your prospective employer, or maybe you do, Madeline.
You don't want to nag.
I mean, Google's okay, I guess. It's no open AI.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that that's actually kind of a really interesting misconception, because they think when I say, ooh, reverse the search, go job shopping, that suddenly you have this air of entitlement and all of that, or negging, as you say, where you're kind of taking the company down a peg of, I have other options. Like, what do you have to offer me? It's actually not that way at all. It's more about understanding exactly what the company needs and kind of taking your ego out of it, not talking about the details of your complicated career journey, but instead focusing on, okay, what does the company need? How can I fill that need? And knowing that you are the right person, you can make it happen, showing them you can make it happen, but also having this strategy where you are having opportunities come to you in a way that you don't have to move into desperation mode.
Mm-hmm. And I'm curious, how does one, in fact, truly learn what they need? Because sometimes the job description is kind of thin. It's kind of generic. It might even be written by AI. I've had a buddy who does interviews is like, they said they wanted all these things in the job description, but then when I started using the terms, they seemed to not understand them in the interview. What's going on here?
Unreal. I totally get it. And yes, so you're right. The first place to look is the job description. That's kind of where you start. And if you're not able to unearth enough there, you can start also doing some research, right? If it's a marketing role, sign up for the company's email lists and look on their website. If it's a customer success role, report a ticket or do something like that. If it's a product role, be interacting with their product or see even how they talk about their product on their website. If it's human resources, read other job descriptions, read Glassdoor. Like there's just a million ways to actually explore a company and understand what is the state of that role in some ways. Now, really, where you understand what a company needs and is looking for is in the interview. Now, sometimes you can get around that by doing informational interviews ahead of time, talking to employees. But really the key is no one's expecting you to come into an interview process being like, boom, here's exactly what you need. But what you can do for the first interview is do what I call a T-chart, which is essentially where you would take the job description and you would match each of your past experiences to what is on that job description. And if there's anything you've ever done, any skills you have that don't meet things on that T-chart, I don't want you to talk about it unless you're asked about it. But too often we volunteer additional information. If I'm going into a car dealership and I say the most important things is the color of the car and the size of the cup holders, do not tell me about the engine and the trunk space, right? So that's really the
Yes.
idea here. And then as you go into later interviews, you're asking really good questions to where if you were to land the job or had to start the job tomorrow, you would have asked questions almost like a consultant where you understand the state of the projects you'd work on, what are their tools, and you could actually start to build a plan of how you would execute that.
I like that a lot. And that car example really resonates in terms of when sales folks don't give you what you want to know, it's frustrating and annoying. It's like, I want to know the price. And I don't want to know the history of your founder. It kills a lot of the excitement real quick. And so likewise, I could see that we as a job seeker might be doing that. It's like, well, no. I did a really cool project. I got a really big impact. And so you got to know about it. And it's like, yeah, well, that's cool, but that's not actually what we're into over here.
Well, what most people do on their resume is that their resume is their best accomplishments. And I would like to challenge your audience to stop doing that. Stop putting your best accomplishments. Unless what you did in your most recent role is very perfectly in line with the exact role you're going for next, then that makes sense. But if the role is slightly different, which a lot of high achievers tend to pivot roles that are a little bit different, they want to learn something new. So it's fairly common to go to a different role that's maybe just a parallel role. You should start thinking about, okay, let me prioritize my accomplishments of what is most relevant. And you may delete the biggest, juiciest project you worked on. Let's say you had a role where you did tons of different things. You're going for a project manager role, but one of the things you did is you closed a $3 million deal with Pepsi. Okay. That's a business development accomplishment. That is not a project management accomplishment. That fabulous deal is not going to make it onto your resume. And people sometimes they're mourning their past job experience because they say, oof, but it was so good. I was their champion at everything. If there were project management elements of that project, sure, share those. But that accomplishment itself is distracting.
Yes. Mourning is the word in terms of, I worked so hard on this. I poured so much of my blood, sweat, and tears effort into it. And now it doesn't even serve me here. And I guess the truth is it does not. And sharing it will make it serve you even less. It could be counterproductive. And especially as I think about resume space or the line as the fundamental unit of currency there. And maybe you can give a quick hot take on how long can our resumes be?
Yes. There's so many opinions about how long a resume should be, and I will put it to rest. It doesn't necessarily matter how long your resume is, but it should only have extremely relevant information. And when you go through the glory formula, which is in the book Reverse the Search, I've seen so many people where their resume shrinks, and it does shrink to one page. And that is the interesting challenge of if you kind of challenge yourself to do it to one page and definitely do it to 2 pages, you'll realize, wow, I put a lot of things on that resume that didn't need to be there. I put that I was CPR certified to do an accounting role. I don't need to put that there. So there's just so many things that we need to take another look at because more information is not more helpful.
Well, to this, it will zoom out in a moment, but you just keep saying enticing things. I can't let go. So CPR certified, understood. That's not really relevant. Often a resume will have a section sort of like interests or hobbies or whatever. And some would say, oh, that's kind of nice that they can get a little bit of a picture of your personality on like one line. What do you think about that?
I like it. I think it's good
Okay.
because people hire people. Okay.
Yeah.
So that line is really a moment for you to connect with the interviewer and it's not guaranteed. Now, here's a guaranteed way to waste that space. If you say generic things like, I like travel, I like to try new restaurants, I like to spend time with my family, things that are literally just so foundational that there's nothing to hold on to there. What if instead you say, I'm obsessed with Thai food? My favorite place to travel is Fiji. I have 4 sons, right? Like saying something about where it's specific, where if I also have a bunch of sons, I might reach out to it or I love Fiji too, or Thai food is great, like blah, blah. Now, there's no guarantee that the person on the other end is going to connect with any of those things, but it's guaranteed they're not going to connect with them if they're hyper generic.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's the craziest thing. I also enjoy sunshine. Madeline, that's crazy. Okay, well, we're having fun here. Maybe let's zoom out and perhaps could you share with us a story of someone who really internalized this mindset shift. They did some different things and saw a cool result because of that.
Absolutely. I think about one of my clients, Brittany. So she was having trouble in the job search. She was very well qualified for the roles and she had a human resources background, which you'd think, oh, she hires people, she knows the behind the scenes. But it's wild how job searching is a completely separate skill set from actually being good at your job. And so she was kind of, struggling to get interviews. And it all changed where, first of all, I think a lot of us really underestimate the value of LinkedIn. She started getting outreaches on LinkedIn when she optimized it, right? Doing the right things on the profile. And I do go into depth in that and reverse the search. And another thing is she went through an interview process, got to the very end, and was rejected. And I think this is really important for people to hear right now because a lot of my clients get rejected. But I've been called the comeback coach because a lot of them still land offers at companies that reject them. And I think that this is a really important learning for people is that a rejection is not the end of the road. If you've had an interview with a company, you have networked with them. You now have a relationship and they have actively shown you with their time, with their effort that they value you. So you have to put that in your pocket and say, that's a win for me. So this is what Brittany did is I worked with her to say, okay, you had a great relationship with this hiring manager. Let's keep cultivating it. So, I helped her to like continue the relationship. We also got what I call kind of like decoy offers. Like I try to get clients even offers that they don't want and then bring those offers to the employers that you're really excited about, tell them about it. And that's what she did. She was like, hey, I have this offer. I'm getting farther in this interview process. Do you guys have any open roles coming up? Like I want to work with you the most, but I have this opportunity. And that hiring manager was like, we are going to have an open role in a couple months, but you know what? I'm going to push that forward and make that happen now because suddenly everyone wants the candidate who, first of all, is building great relationships and second of all, is highly desired in the market. And so she was able to then kind of speed through that like second round of interviews with this company, get the offer. She was earned 40% more than her last salary. She told me, I don't even want to negotiate because this offer is so good. And that's another thing is that if you're job shopping, if you're using these methods through the interview process, negotiation becomes not that important because companies will nearly almost always give you the top of their range because they're like, just take it. Like, please join us. And so that's what happened for her. And so I really want to emphasize that to anyone kind of going through this tough job market is, again, like, I think this is a good example of you have a lot more influence in the process than you think. People view a rejection as them being powerless, but she spun that into a massive power and landed the offer.
That's cool. I like that a lot. And I have witnessed that in my worlds as well, in terms of, I worked at Bain for a while, and they say, they have an offer from McKinsey. So if we want them, we better move quick. And they do. It's like, we got interviews on Fridays. Well, you're having an interview this Friday, not a month from now, what it was previously thought it would be. And it's true, I think, I'm thinking about Bob Cialdini, who's on the show, talk about influence, the notion of scarcity, as well as social proof, like just human psychology here. It's sort of ambiguous. Is this person going to be great at this role? I mean, I hope so. They seems like it. Oh, but someone else really wants them. Okay, well, there's some validation. I guess there's another indicator that the odds are good. They're a winner, as well as scarcity. It's like, we better move quick or we'll lose them. And so what a great place to be if you are in that position and everyone else that they're talking to is not.
Yes, exactly. Exactly right. There are psychological principles that come up there that are as old as time. And exactly that scarcity, that competition. And a lot of people don't realize that budgets are malleable, timelines are malleable. Like, companies will say the certain things are certain ways, but companies also understand that hiring is an art just as much of a science. And people think that companies are just inundated with an exceptional talent. And that's actually not the case. When you find someone who's a great talent, has a great attitude, personality, skill set, you want to keep an eye on them. You do want to hire them, and you don't take that necessarily for granted.
Well, let's maybe walk through it step by step in terms of, let's say, all right, I got a job and it's okay, but it's not quite doing it for me, in terms of I'd maybe like a little bit more money, a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more cool teammates, a little bit more impact. It's sort of like, our jobs are fine, but we have a feeling that there's something that is substantially better out there for us. So we say, let's just go for it. Let's just start looking around. What would you say is the step 1, 2, 3 to embarking upon job shopping as opposed to job seeking?
So there are short-term, medium-term, and long-term options. So many job seekers hunt, right? So hunting is basically where you kind of go out, there's a role, you try to hunt it, and it runs away. Like, just like hunting, right? Like, if your prey runs away, then you kind of have lost out on it. And it's that. That's why you need to also have farming aspects of your strategy as well. So if you were just now going to embark on the job search, first of all, I would start farming. First of all, like, let's start tilling the field. So first of all, the most important thing is get extremely clear about what is your next career step. Too many people skip over this. They're like, well, I have a lot of different skills. I call them kind of like the mosaic job seeker, where they're like, I just have so many different beautiful parts of me, which you do, but you need to get clear. Then your messaging needs to be extremely clear on your LinkedIn profile. And then there's likely some profession and or industry specific job boards or networking sites where I would get your branding, your resume, whatever it is, on those too, because I want those to just be magnets for opportunity. So you are not. A lot of my clients report over 50% of their interviews coming in just inbound, them not applying, just companies coming to them. So that's why I was saying, like, just get yourself out there on the internet and let those things come into you. Because especially if you're employed, you don't have a ton of time to reaching out to people. So get that branding good to go. Okay. Then I want you to start warming up that network. First of all, talking to people in your network, and then of course, reaching out to people at certain companies. So having a target company list where you're starting to network there. Now let's focus on the hunting, right? So let's now look at what jobs are out there. What is actively hiring now? So that's the reactive job search process, where you're reacting to what's out there on the market. And with that, we need to be quick and precise. We're seeing a lot in the job market right now that you do want to act quickly when a role opens, because these roles are highly inundated. But also, especially as you move up in your career, as you're getting more advanced, focus more on relationships, of like making sure that resume actually gets read versus simply just submitting it online. So that is where I would start to kind of have this multifaceted, both short-term and long-term play for your job search to maximize your time.
Okay. Well, so then when it comes to some of the particulars, like get the branding good, what perhaps are the top 2 or 3 action steps that are just tremendously useful per minute we spend on them.
Right. So we'll focus on your LinkedIn profile. So while I did talk about there's other places you can do this, let's talk about LinkedIn because that really is the number one place that recruiters are looking for talent. Too many people think that their about section is important and their cover photo is important. None of those things are unimportant, but people spend so much time on those that I would say throw those out the window. Like, let's focus on them much later. Instead, let's focus on what is actually moving the needle of showing up in searches. First of all, you're probably not surprised, your headline, okay? Your headline, I think there's two different ways to approach your headline. And too often, if you're using AI to create it, they're usually telling you like, make a clever statement about who you serve and stand out that way. Here's the problem there. I think that a clever statement is good if you're doing a content strategy and building a business. So maybe, you might say,
I'm a snack marketing ninja.
yeah, exactly.
With
Bringing
an emoji.
Snacks. Yeah, snacks to everyone Yeah, exactly. So not like that. It's better to be like digital marketing specialist in the food and beverage industry, right? Like something like that where it's like, boom, okay, got it. Like that is what I'm buying as an employer. Because what recruiters do is they search for keywords. I've done a ton of sourcing in my career, in my recruiting. I'm highly familiar with LinkedIn's back end of what that looks like. So you need to make sure that you are findable. The people who are getting all of these interviews, such as my clients, they're not necessarily more talented than you. They're just more easily found. And so we are not thinking about the SEO of your profile. So making sure you're getting the right keywords on there and the right elements. And people also are afraid to put it in industry because they're afraid to pigeonhole themselves, but industry specific profiles get far more clicks and interest. Someone who's just in marketing versus someone who is in marketing for food and beverages. That's completely different, more specific skill set that is going to attract more attention. So don't be afraid to be specific.
Okay, so then the headline is huge because the way the LinkedIn search algorithm is operating. So if someone is searching for a digital marketing person in food and beverage, if you have that kind of thing in your headline, then you'll be super findable relative to not. And I guess there's some tricky nuances in terms of, well, this is what I'm doing now, but I want to do something different later. I guess that makes it tougher as to what do I do with that headline there.
Yep. You can't focus your headline on what you did in the past. It has to be what you want to do next.
Or what you want to be doing. Because like you're not like, if I'm a digital marketing specialist in food and beverage, but I want to be a digital marketing specialist for video games.
Yep.
I cannot say that I am that right now, though I want to be that.
Well, here's the thing. We always have to put ourselves in the mind of the employer, okay? How can I be employable in video games? Well, I should start, doing some pro bono work for an indie video game shop, right? Or something like that. Or even create my own projects. And you need to build that experience, even if it's just a few hours a month. And then you need to claim it on your headline because it is actually unkind to put in your headline, I work in food and beverage. And then someone contacts you in food and beverage. You're like, no, I'm not pursuing roles in food and beverage. It's just like an unnecessary piece of information that you're now attracting the wrong person. It's more kind to say, video games. And then you're attracting that opportunity and you can show them how you've been upskilling in that industry, how you have been an immense student of that industry. And so now you're attracting the right opportunities. That is more kind because now it's easier for companies to match up to you properly versus you sending these mixed signals into the world.
And maybe I'm just getting a little bit hung up. So then in this scenario we've dreamt up together with the headline, I'm a digital marketing person in food and beverage. I want to be a digital marketing person in video games. What do I do with that headline?
I would put video games. I wouldn't put food and beverage.
Okay. So then I guess I'm a little worried then in this world is like, if my boss sees this like, hey man, what?
Yeah. Oh, that's true. So if you're currently employed, you're right. I think that would raise some serious eyebrows. So I would, in that case, remove industry from your headline. But you really should be showing some video game expertise on your profile. It could be that you write an article on LinkedIn. It doesn't matter if there is one person reading it. Your brother-in-law is the only one who reads it or something like that, right? It doesn't matter. It really is just about when I get to your profile, I can tell that he is extremely intentional about moving into this industry because it scares employers so much if they feel you have not done the work to make this pivot, because they do not want to be a career experiment where you think, oh yeah, maybe I'll do this industry, maybe I'll do that industry, maybe I'll do this job title, that job title. They hire you and you realize, ooh, actually, this wasn't exactly what I wanted, or I'm actually vastly underqualified and I didn't actually do the work myself to get up to speed of another candidate. And then they feel really disappointed in the hire.
Oh, I like that a lot. So for Get Branding Good, we've got LinkedIn showing off in the headline as much as we can what we're after, as well as in the other places. Hey, I posted an article. Maybe I've done some pro bono work for a studio and that's listed there, and that's cool. Tell us more about getting branding good. I was specifically interested in that notion of, hey, you can just go ahead and do some free work for a company there and mention it. And I think that's fabulous. We had a woman on the show, Kristen Burt, and she had a dream of working in airline baggage operations, which I thought was funny as a very specific dream, a passion of hers. Like she read all these articles on it and it was amazing to me. And so she started a blog about these matters, like, hey, his latest rankings on baggage performance and her analysis of what she thinks is going on and why United went up or down in the rankings and some new technologies they're using. And sure enough, she got the job in that career switch area, because nobody else has a blog about airplane baggage operations. You got the job, Kristen. Congrats.
That is a perfect example. And yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter how many people read that blog or anything. She was showing that she has a growth mindset. And a lot of people don't realize that is the biggest currency of this current job market. It's not years of experience. It's not wisdom. It's not tenure. It's ability to evolve and constantly learn, because 25 years of marketing experience doesn't actually mean anything if you've lived the same year of your career 25 times. You need to be up leveling. You need to be learning new things. And so just like she is, she's showing her that she is very on top of things. She is passionate. And so exactly. I mean, I have a client, she is at Harvard PhD and was so disappointed to enter the workforce and realize that she wasn't really desirable. She wanted to work in market research for public companies. And so I worked with her to tap. I have a bunch of business owners in my network, me being a business owner myself. And I had her make a list of the type of market research she was willing to do pro bono. So she was like, I can do an analysis of your customers in this way and that way. So she made a list and I sent it out to a group of business owners. And I said, does anyone want to take her up on this? So I had a couple of business owners say yes. And now she has incredible projects on her resume. She's showing these employers that she was able to take what she did as a researcher at Harvard. And now she actually has real world results. And it's not about her breaking her back to do, 60 hours a week of work. She's probably doing 4 hours a week of work pro bono, but people are spending tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars on education. And they're spending so many hours a week, doing these things where you could spend so much less time and money just doing a little bit of pro bono work, getting the evidence on your resume, and then having the ability to talk about that. And a lot of people aren't doing it because it's not the paved path.
I like that a lot. And I'm also thinking about just showing up at events, because you learn so much so quick when you're talking to all the people doing all the things. In terms of, I'm just thinking about podcast movement I've been to over and over again. And so if you were interested in maybe getting into the podcast world, but didn't have a lot of experience, well, by golly, you're going to know all sorts of things that the uninitiated were utterly clueless about 3 days ago. You get an education on what is absolutely cutting edge, modern, top of mind concerns for people in the space, and as well as connections right there. Like, hey, now I know some people and who know other people. Oh, away we go.
Yeah, exactly. And making those connections, learning, attending those things, consuming information, and regurgitating it back. It is, and just claim it as your own, right? You learn something about the podcast industry, then just like integrate that into the questions you ask people of the podcasters or anything like that. Or I've noticed this or that. Just really internalize these things. And I even have a lot of my clients as part of their interview prep. I have a very short document that people use where people are like, whoa, this interview prep you tell us to do is so much more brief than the interview prep I normally do, but yet it's highly more effective. And one of the things I have them do that almost no one does as a preparation for their interviews is I ask them to find a podcast specifically on their profession. And you'd be amazed. I have so many clients of like super niche job titles, and there is like a YouTube video out there, there's a podcast episode out here. And like in podcasting, you can get incredible people saying basically the most rich and factual things, but like it'll have like 4 views, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
it's amazing what you can find out there. So then they're able to take that information that either helps them to grow their mind about their profession or further confirms the things that they already felt about their profession, helps them to crystallize in interviews and show them as more of an expert, more of a thought leader. And literally just that one action has helped land a lot of my clients job offers because they're like, whoa, I'm communicating so much better in my interviews because I sound like I really have deeply thought about the big picture of this industry and my profession because I've listened to some thought leaders and done that preparation.
Absolutely. And I might say, while you're at it, feel free to reach out to the podcast guests. Many of my guests have said, I've heard from so many of your listeners on LinkedIn and they're so wonderful. It's like, well, thank you. Thank you, listeners, for being so wonderful. And so, yeah, especially if you have a real thoughtful comment, compliment, follow-up question, folks generally like that, as opposed to a fake compliment, segueing into sales pitch. We have enough of those.
Yes. And that's the thing is people go on podcasts, on YouTube channels because they want to have that effort that they put into that interview be heard by the world, right? They don't go on to hope that no one hears it. So the fact that you are reaching out, you're giving a compliment, that you're asking a question, that is absolutely welcome. So that's one of the best possible things. Like if you're trying to get your foot in the door at a company, try to find these micro influencers at the company, just people who post on LinkedIn every now and then, or people who are on podcasts every now and then. They don't have to be your hiring manager. They don't have to be a recruiter. They don't have to be someone in your department. Literally those people, if you could just listen to what they did, read their article, they're going to be so grateful that you engaged with it, that you found it interesting, that is such an effortless way to network. It's crazy. And so that is such a good way in.
That's true. Yes. If folks really pour some thought and effort into an article, an interview, a post, and they have like crickets of response, like a couple people give it a like and that, or good article, Madeline, and that's about it. And then there is some authentic engagement from a human being who found that interesting, insightful, valuable, and has a follow-up question. It immediately provokes the answer, wait, who's this person? Like you were immediately interested in that person because like no one else showed any interest in me. This person did. I like them and I want to know all about them.
Yes. People think I have nothing to offer this person. What can I give them? Literally, like your interest and even people hitting a like on the post, doing comment, showing that interest, even if you have a tiny network or a tiny social media following, like I bet you, if someone was consistently sharing your podcast episodes, like you probably wouldn't even care how big their following is. You'd probably just notice them over time and say, that person's awesome. Like I appreciate
Mm-hmm.
them. And it really is quite flattering. So yeah, I think it's such an important thing that even just taking time to notice people, I say that in reverse search. It's not about knowing people. It's about noticing people. You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
have this big network, but if you're really great at noticing people, noticing what they're contributing to the world, what makes them great, what makes them interesting, you are going to never want for a job.
Well said. Well, boy, we could talk for hours, but Madeline, can you share with us a couple of your top do's and don'ts that we haven't hit yet here?
First of all, is folks think that aiming lower in their job search is easier. So like, let's say you're sending out resumes and none of them are hitting. You think, well, why don't I just go to roles that I'm super qualified for? I'm 130% qualified for. What I found is that that's actually harder to land than maybe a role that is obviously perfectly aligned with you, or even a role that's a little bit of a reach for you. Because companies are terrified that they're going to have to pay you too much, that you are going to get the role and you're going to get bored really quickly. You're going to ask for a promotion. You're going to leave until a better job comes. And truthfully, I've seen that happen a lot at companies where people say, oh no, this leveling is totally fine for me. And they prove the company right that it was not a right fit. So first of all, don't aim. If you're going to aim anywhere, aim a little bit higher instead of lower, even if you're a career changer. You don't have to go to the bottom of the rung of a career ladder if you're career changing. Second of all, there's this idea that keeps permeating. That is the idea that the job search is a numbers game. And especially now that application numbers are getting higher and higher because more and more job seekers are using AI, your friends and your family will often give you terrible advice of just apply more, more, more. And I have a bunch of examples in the book and I have hundreds more from my clients where they just shifted the way they approach things, started going after a half a dozen, maybe a dozen roles, maybe a couple dozen roles, and landing interviews at most of them. And so when you shift your approach, you actually find that in a world right now where everything is so impersonal, doing more impersonal things at scale is actually the slowest way to job search.
Okay. Yes. That makes a lot of sense because you might have more numbers, but the percentage is so super duper tiny that it's not really worthwhile, even though, oh, this was easy to apply to that job. Yeah, that's what the other 3,000 people said.
Yeah. And I would say it's so tough to sit here and give advice because all of your listeners are unique and have different situations. I would say if you're not landing interviews at 10% of the applications you're sending out, there's something wrong. Okay. So for some of us, we are perfectly qualified for these roles. We have great companies on our resume. We're applying within the first 24 hours and we are landing 10%, 20%, 40% of the job opportunities. If that is your strategy and it is working, please continue. But if you're kind of doing all those things and it's below 10%, something's up. And like probably the high volume job search, or the way you're going about it right now is not a good approach.
Well, I love a benchmark number. Thank you, Madeline. That's handy. Tell us, any final thoughts before we hear about some of your favorite things?
One of the most important things right now is the job market is challenging. It's really the worst job market I've seen in my career. And I want to say that because I want to tell your listeners that it's not in their head. But yet, I also sit in a position where I am seeing job seekers land not only one offer, but multiple offers all the time. So I see this firsthand. So I just want you to know that it is possible. And really, they're just going one step above. Like they're just doing maybe one more step than you are. But they're doing it strategically. I was talking to someone on TikTok today where they said, well, what if I get rejected from a no reply email? I guess I'm out of luck. Job shoppers don't stop at no reply emails, right? Like I just need you to start shifting your thinking of instead of seeing obstacles, see opportunities.
Well, now I just can't let that go. Let's say we applied and I got a no reply at craft.com and they say, Peter, thank you so much for your interest. Unfortunately, we are chosen to move with a different candidate. That's that. What do I do there?
Yeah. So if this is truly just an application, right? You have not had any sort of correspondence with the company. You could find their general email, like the hello at their website. You could find the recruiter email. You could find the hiring manager. And people are like, but how do I know who's the hiring manager? How do I know what their email is? Those things, first of all, you're guessing. Second of all, it's fairly easy to guess also people's email addresses. There's lots of tools online that can find them, or also it's usually their first name at the company website or their first initial, last name. Like it's just, there's a lot of ways that it's pretty easy to figure out. So spend, 2 to 5 minutes finding an email address, following up saying, thank you so much for getting back to me. I'm bummed I missed the window for this role because I was very excited. Should anything open up or should this role open up again, I want to let you know that I'm extremely interested in it going forward. I wish you all the best. I'll be rooting for you from the sidelines. Something like that. And I remember I got an email like that once when I was hiring a role. And I would either get silence from rejection emails or hatred when I was working in recruiting, because people are very sensitive when it comes to
They actually say that out loud. Okay.
rejection. Yes. And so for someone to say, hey, you rejected me, just a heads up, you all are a top company that I'm interested in. So I'm going to keep up with you. That stands out. So what did I do with her application? I put it in the future potential bucket of my ATS. When that role opened up again, she was one of the first people I reached out to. She interviewed, she even got to one of the final rounds. So just know that, again, where others see obstacles, you need to see opportunities. And all these people are imagine me opening up the role again, not putting it online, simply interviewing some of the candidates I had already interested in. And then she gets the role. That's the hidden job market right there. Because I wouldn't have opened the role again if she fit it and I could just interview her and not have to go through all the folderol of evaluating all these applications. People don't realize that these are some of the ways that you're cutting the line in the job search.
Big thanks to Madeline for sharing her wisdom with us. And big thanks to our sponsors. Check them out. One sponsored checkout is Strawberry.me Career Coaching. Having real clarity and direction can make or break your career. If it seems like you're putting in the work but not seeing your career take off, some coaching might be just the ticket. Strawberry.me matches you with certified career coaches who help you gain clarity on what you really want next in your career, develop a results-driven strategy, and stay accountable. And they can also help you flourish beyond career issues. I had a fantastic session with my coach, Brett, about handling stress from so many responsibilities in so many areas. He was fun. He was wise. He just really got me. We had some laughs and a good time and a good rapport. And he gave me an exercise that has been so quick and so effective for me. I've been doing it every day. So if you're ready to take control and build momentum in your career, go to strawberry.me/awesome to claim your $50 credit. That's strawberry.me/awesome. Because awesome careers don't just happen, you make them happen. One sponsored checkout is Quince. That nip in the air means two things. One, decorative gourd season is approaching. And two, it's time to check inventory on fall staples and fill in any gaps. And Quince can help with that masterfully, as they have all kinds of goodies you'll wear nonstop, such as a super soft 100% Mongolian cashmere sweater starting at $60. But that low price does not mean low quality. I've been loving my Quince beanie during these cooler temperatures. I treated that hat rough, but it keeps bouncing back and holding up like a champ. And Quince has really emerged as something of a go-to across the board. I keep seeing bags my wife orders from Quince appearing at our doorstep. So keep it classic and cool this fall with long-lasting staples from Quince. Go to quince.com/awesome for free shipping on your order and 365 days returns. That's QUINCE.com/awesome for free shipping and 365-day returns. One more time, quince.com/awesome. One sponsored checkout is LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs is your 24/7 hiring partner. LinkedIn makes it easy to post your job for free, share it with your network, and get qualified candidates that you can manage all in one place. Here's how it works. You post your job and quickly get in front of the right people with deep candidate insights. You can post for free or pay to promote to reach 3 times as many qualified applicants. And you can feel confident that you're reaching the best, as 72% of small and medium businesses using LinkedIn say that LinkedIn helps them find high-quality candidates. From there, share it with your network to let them know you're hiring. And here's a fun fact. If you add the hashtag hiring frame to your profile picture, you get twice as many qualified candidates. So find out why more than 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring today. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/beawesome. That's linkedin.com/BEAWESOME to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. All right. Well, now could you share a favorite quote, something you find inspiring?
A healthy man has 1,000 wishes. A sick man has only one.
All right. Thank you. And now a favorite study or experiment or piece of research?
I am a big fan of Cialdini. I always mispronounce his last name.
And I think you nailed it. Yeah. I asked him directly.
Okay, perfect. I used to say Cialdini, but it's Cialdini. His book Influence was one that just completely transformed my life. I read it in high school, and it's really transformed. He actually did a study where he found that one of the best questions to ask in a job interview is, why did you bring me in here today? What made you feel that I was qualified to be here today? And he proved that that question was influential in getting the company to start rationalizing why that person is a good fit.
Oh, that is a great question. And it gives you valuable information. It's like, oh, okay. I thought it was this other thing. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about what you said. Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to focus on that. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And a favorite book?
I love Multipliers.
And a shout out to Liz Wiseman, former guest on the show. And a favorite tool, something you use to be awesome at your job.
I use a lot of Evernote. My entire business is really based on me putting out value into the world. And value can come in inspiration of client conversations, of podcast interviews. And so to have somewhere easily accessible that I'm writing down all of my ideas, keeping them organized, but cultivating them over time. So just, it's a very simple tool. That one's been really helpful for me to just track all of these thoughts that are bubbling in my head.
And a favorite habit?
I always use a notebook. I am constantly writing in my notebook, and it's filled with to-do lists. And I probably go through a notebook in like a couple weeks. And something about having my to-do list written down, and even just like often in conversations, I'll write down notes. Writing down notes is part of one of the secrets to feel like my success with my being organized, but to have things just like written here, keeping my priorities very clear for the day, checking them off is so gratifying. That is my favorite habit.
Mm-hmm. And is there a key nugget you share that really seems to resonate with folks? They quote it back to you often?
Your resume is a sales page, not a Wikipedia page.
Mm-hmm. I like it. And if folks want to learn more, get in touch, where would you point them?
I would say find me at madelinemann.com. You can find me there. You can also find me all across different social media channels, YouTube, Self-Made Millennial, LinkedIn, all of that. But yes, madelinemann.com as a core hub.
And do you have a final challenge or call to action for folks looking to be awesome at their jobs?
What's the best that could happen? Okay. I want you to think of that every time you go out of your comfort zone where it's comfortable, it's crowded. So get uncomfortable in the job search. And every time you do something that feels a little funky, you reach out to someone new, just think, what's the best that can happen?
All right. Madeline, fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you.
I really love what Madeline had to say about we are so proud of our accomplishments. We want to shove them all on the resume, especially if they're super cool and we're extra proud of them. But they can actually work against us. So I recommend just have a huge list of all those accomplishments somewhere. It's kind of like a massive well that you can draw from, a menu that you can just mix and match in your shopping cart and put together the ideal custom resume for each position. So it's not lost forever. You know you did it. It's written down. It's not forgotten. But you can pick and choose which ones you're going to show off in any given resume for a particular opportunity. Great stuff from Madeline. If you want to check out the show notes or the transcript or the links to items that we've referenced, please drop on by awesomeatyourjob.com/EP1090. Hope to catch you next time, and peace.